Good morning, everybody. Well, the legacy media seems to have woken up about China all of a sudden. Let's take a look at this story from CNN. CNN labels this an exclusive. China took weeks to diagnose new COVID cases in underreported numbers, leaked documents show. CNN considers this breaking news, an exclusive. If you're like me, you've known about this since almost the very beginning. But that's because I don't rely solely on the legacy media for my news. In fact, I most often use the legacy media as a source of entertainment. Let's take a closer look at this story. An unprecedented leak of internal Chinese documents reveals how the country mishandled the early stages of the coronavirus pandemic. Gee, after CNN blaming President Trump all this time, now that they figure President Trump is down and out for the count, they're changing their tune. The documents from Hubei province, the site of the world's first known outbreak, show China announced misleading numbers of new cases and deaths, was hampered by an average 3-week delay in diagnosing new cases, and experienced a huge spike in influenza in the epicenter province in early December. So they weren't only suffering from the Hunan flu, it says they also were suffering from influenza. I think this often spikes the numbers for the China flu. I think the normal flu going around is often confused for the China flu and inflates the numbers pretty drastically. Let's choose another legacy media news source that's talking about China. This from NBC News. NATO must focus more on challenge of rising China, a report to say. China is no longer the benign trading center that the West had hoped for. It is the rising power of our century, and NATO must adapt, said one diplomat, as China continues to try to expand its boundaries, as it continues to cheat foreign companies of its intellectual property rights. Some diplomats in NATO are finally figuring out that China isn't a benign trading partner. Where have they been for the last 30 years? Let's go on with one more legacy media news source. From the BBC, China refuses to apologize to Australia for fake soldier image. Now, other news sources have talked about China refusing to apologize to Australia, but BBC more honestly puts what it's all about right in the headline. China faked the image of a soldier. Let's see how they talk about this story. Australia has demanded an apology for sharing the fake image of an Australian soldier killing an Afghan child. The tweet with the fake image was posted in response to a damning report last month about alleged Australian war crimes. What do you think Twitter's response is? Let's go to another news source. Breitbart. No Twitter fact check warning on Chinese officials' fake photo of Australian soldier beheading child. Why am I not surprised that Twitter is covering up this Chinese fake picture, is not rebuking China for this, is letting China slide. And the farther left you are, the more you slide on Twitter. Let's go to one last legacy media news source. This one is a little bit older than my news stories. I could have chosen a story from China today on Fox, but I wanted to see this one because it's talking about Beijing Biden. Biden's Secretary of State pick under fire for Chinese Biden Center funds. Let's see what this story is all about. Blinken served as the managing director of the University of Pennsylvania's Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, also known as the Penn Biden Center, established in 2017. He left that position in 2019 to join the Biden campaign. In May, the National Legacy and Policy Center, NLPC, a government watchdog group, filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education seeking to force the university and the Penn Biden Center to disclose the names of anonymous Chinese donors who gave $22 million since 2017, including one $14.5 million gift in May 2018. I'm sure this was just a form of that Chinese benevolence we've been so familiar with. This has been a little stroll through the legacy media news sites about China. And that last story from Fox News, what do you think Beijing Biden is going to do? As you can see, he's already picked a man who has accepted a $14.5 million gift from China 2 years ago. And as we all know, his son has worked for Chinese companies. I'm sure that Beijing Biden will get along real well with Winnie the Pooh.